don't know if I really love this decision.
Over the middle, got his man, and look at him go! Jalen Waddle for the touchdown!
Welcome to Inside Leverage, your gateway to the fascinating realm of the Miami Dolphins. Join us as we delve deep into the team's dynamic Super Bowl journey. We invite you to share your most scorching takes, unwind, and relish in our captivating experience.
He's got him! Tyreek Hill! And the Dolphins have come back! A big play on the first one! Home run! Play one! To the house! What a start for the Dolphins!
It's Inside Leverage. We always gonna put on a show, baby. That's what we do.
If it's alright,
Come back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Inside Leverage Live with the one and only host, yours truly, Coach. I'm joined tonight by Fizz Mechanic, the man French, and the living legend, Chad, also known as Tua Messi.
inside, it's okay. Everybody gonna say what they wanna say. Players gonna play when they wanna play. Long way.
Boys, the beginning is here. Start of training camp is today. I know we feeling good. We feeling all right.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, hey, we just here's his. Oh, and also, lady, we can't forget about.
There's the star. There's the star.
The star of the show, of course.
Do not.
Hey, everybody, put your W's up when Wally walk in, man.
Put W's in the chat.
The W's up for the Wally.
Man.
It's Wally's world. You feel me? It's Wally's world.
world.
Oh my God! Who the hell
Is Tua here? Oh, okay, Tua here. We can start.
Oh, look, he here with me. Look, hey, pay that man. Pay this guy.
I see them when you guys are patient.
Hey, wait a minute. Hold on. Wait, Chad. Let's see that.
Ooh, that's, you know, hey, look, that's a one-on-one. You feel me? That's a one-on-one, right?
That looks like an exclusive, man.
Ooh, you see, that's a one-on-one, yo.
The boys went out the good shoes.
That's a one-on-one.
We might have
Ain't no more of these being produced in America. Just know that. But it's a one-on-one.
I wonder where you can find that.
I mean, don't even tell them yet. Let it be a little secret. Let it be a little secret.
Listen. We just out here. You just chilling. You feel me? We ain't on nothing. You feel me? It's a one-on-one.
We pilot boy. You know, we pilot boy.
Throw your dubs.
Listen, man, I'm anxious to get the man Biggie, our guest of the hour, on here.
Yes,
waiting for him to join. But in the meantime, guys, we had a little bit of news. At training camp today, we had some moves.
Hold on. Before we carry on, listen.
Yes, go ahead.
Let me give you guys some game. I'm talking about Bath and Body Works, 3-wick candle sales, body wash sales.
Ooh.
If you know, you know, and you know. So holla at me. Yeah.
Listen, man, the Hawk got me that information. So on that note, anybody want to take this topic here and kind of expand to our audience who haven't heard yet some roster moves that the Dolphins did this afternoon? Anybody?
I mean, I was a little bit.
You were a little bit busy.
I was thrown off by the moves, but then Chad and OG made valid points. They want to stash the rookies. It might be roster manipulation. And it's a lot of things that go into those moves, and we're talking about Taj Washington and the undrafted kid out of TCU being placed in the non-injury or something personal.
Correct.
This one.
Correct. So Wally, just to expand on your point, it was safety Mark Perry that was put on the active non-football injury list, and wide receiver Taj Washington got on the active physically unable to perform list, for those of you who are not up to speed with those current moves.
But isn't that a little bit of a concern, for me? Because wasn't that something that was talked about for Taj coming out of the college?
No, with Perry, yes. With Perry, that's a concern. But he's the one in it's like a non-football. He can perform. So it's a little bit weird with Todd because he hasn't had an injury history. And there was they were training. So it goes back to maybe to what Chad alluded to in the group chat and then where we communicate that it might be a team roster type situation moves or something. Like, I don't know, bro. I just don't want to get too concerned right now. And they're at a good position that we could afford that at safety and wide receivers.
I mean, there could be legitimate concerns as far as there being real injuries and things like that. But I think it could work in our favor in that allowing us to not necessarily showcase those guys throughout the whole preseason, and maybe that gives us an opportunity for those guys to make it back to us. I mean, no teams have done their homework on these guys, so the word is out on what they're capable of. Perry was at the Shrine Bowl, I believe. He was knocking guys down one-on-one the entire time. We've seen Taj as Caleb Williams, Blanky in college. So the film is out on those guys. But, I mean, I was just thinking that, maybe it's a way that, it allows us for those guys to be put on the PUP and, physically unable to perform list, non-football injury list. Perry can be activated at any time. I believe. I'm not sure what Taj was. Barry alluded to maybe it being something a little serious or something, and that Mike McDaniel could expound when he speaks in about 8 days. So we'll get some more information on what the injuries are going forward. But I just feel like maybe it could work in our favor because we are already pretty loaded in the wide receiver room with Eazy-E, Berrios, Craycraft, and these guys fighting for the bottom of the roster. So if you could put a Taj Washington on the back burner and bring him back later, hey.
Guys, it looks like our guest has arrived. Joining the stage is the man, the myth, the legend, Ian the Big E Berger. Let's give a round of applause for this.
Big E,
good
appreciate
evening, gentlemen.
How you doing?
How are you guys?
Good, man.
I'm like frantically sending y'all messages. Hey, I want to join. I just need the link, but that's okay. Right.
Blame it on the IT guy.
Blame it on the IT guy. I'll blame it on
Right,
Frenchie. I saw Frenchie in California last year, so I'm just gonna blame it on him.
Yes, sir.
I know that everybody out there on Finn's Twitter and everybody out there YouTube know who you are, but just for intents and purposes and for the sake of completion, let everybody know who you are.
Ian Big E Berger, 2020 Miami Dolphins fan of the year, but more importantly, as you all are here, diehard Miami Dolphins fans, I tell everybody that I could talk if I didn't have a job. I could talk Miami Dolphins football from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. with a lunch and a dinner and still keep my wife happy. But, just a diehard fan that loves what this team and loves what they're doing and continue to hope. I think that's the biggest thing we all got as fans. Continue to hope that we have put a team together and we have the coaches that will bring us to the promised land. So that's me. I also write for and podcast for DolphinsTalk.com. That's been doing that a couple of years. Love that. Love Mike Oliva over there. So had to give him some love.
Awesome. So listen, along those lines, we'll get started with the questions here quickly. We'll start with me. How did you become a Dolphin fan?
I became a Dolphins fan. Actually, it's interesting because my parents weren't into football at all. And in my bedroom when I was a kid, I actually had a Pittsburgh Steelers lamp because I think they thought it looked good. So there was that, but my grandfather took me to the Orange Bowl in '85 and it was a Dolphins game. I don't remember the details. I didn't know much about football at the time. And I loved it. Loved the experience. I mean, if anybody had the opportunity to go to the Orange Bowl, yeah, it's not as pretty. It's not as comfortable as, Joe Robbie Stadium, which I know we all call, it's Hard Rock, but it was still an amazing experience. And I started liking football after that. And then in high school, you get to go to high school football games. And I was in the marching band, so I got to go and attend all the games every Friday night or Saturday nights. And then I started really paying attention to the Dolphins. So it was like late 80s, 1990, when the Dolphins were always up against the Buffalo Bills. And then I brought my dad into the fold. He was the same as me. Didn't know much about football, didn't know much about the Dolphins. But then he started watching with me, and we made it an annual ritual for him and I to go to all the home Dolphins versus Buffalo Bills games, because there was such a rivalry at that time. And that just continued to grow too. And then with the growth of social media, it has just absolutely, I think a lot of people who were like maybe normal fans have been able to become like super fans, because really back in the day, you can only get information through magazines and through newspapers and then what you saw on your local TV. But now, I mean, there's thousands of sites. If you want to know something about the Dolphins or learn about what's going on with the team, not only can you look at the media, but you can also look at us fans, because there's a lot of us that are doing a lot of things. So fast forward to, now I've got a family. I've got 2 older daughters that are in their late teens, and been a season ticket holder for 15 straight years or 14 straight years. And I haven't missed a home game in that 14-year period. And I just love it. Love going to the games. Like, I haven't worn this jersey since the last game of last season at home, which, if I remember correctly, it was the Dallas Cowboys game. And I put it on for you guys tonight because I was like, we're like at the start of training camp. I know it's just for the rookies, but we're at the start of training camp, and it's an exciting time. I think we got a great team. We've seen some changes, but I still think we got a great team that's taking the field.
All right, Biggie, thank you for your time, man. I follow you, amazing follow. You're one of the positive fans, so we appreciate your tweets. We appreciate you as a fan, man, for real. You talked about the 80s. By the way, games in the Orange Bowl are legendary. If you don't like the Orange Bowl, you're not a real fan, right? I mean, let's just get that out the way. But my question is, man, who's your all-time favorite Dolphin player?
It's, a lot of people, I think, go along the lines of Dan Marino. I love Dan Marino, don't get me wrong, but my favorite player for the Dolphins all time was Zach Thomas. Because if you think about the time when I started becoming a real super fan in the 90s, it was Zach Thomas. And then when I was working at a bank as a branch manager, and some of my team members had bought me my first ever jersey, and my first ever jersey was a Zach Thomas jersey. And then what's so interesting, like a week later, my best friend got me the exact same thing except a different color. He didn't know that I had already gotten a Zach Thomas jersey. So I do not own, except for that's the one that's on the wall up here. That's a Dan Marino that's autographed, but I don't own any other player jerseys besides that one and the 2 Zach Thomas jerseys that I have in my closet. And I also have a Jason Taylor jersey as well. Those are the only ones I got.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's my favorite player too, but that's my favorite player too. He's what hooked me.
See, listen,
and
I love
that Marino left, boom, and then you had Zach. You really did.
I love Zach because he was short and I'm short, so that's the reason.
That's not why I loved him. Just so you know. I think the underdog story. I think that was what really sought me, and like you heard the stories about Zach at the end of games, or at halftime, he'd be crying to his team because he had such a level of passion that he wanted to share that with every other teammate. And I think that's one of the reasons why he became a Hall of Famer and why he deserved to be a Hall of Famer, because it's not about just being great yourself. It's being able to elevate the people around you through your greatness.
Exactly.
And that's what we saw. And that's what I loved about Zach. Always a smile on his face. I mean, he's just an amazing human being.
Listen, he is the epitome of underdog, and that's the very reason why I root for Liam Eichenberg as this currently stands. I don't know if you see me on Twitter. I am one of the de facto Liam Knights of Twitter. So I root for Liam hard because I know that he struggled a little bit. But he's getting there. So my question,
what did Austin Jackson, by the way?
Exactly. So my question to you is, who is your current favorite player or your favorite player for the 2024 season?
That's tough. And also there's probably some politics involved with that too. Cause if you say Tua, then you get a half of people that come running at your inbox and say, how could you say that's your favorite player? Or if you say somebody else, it could be something else. But I love Tua because not only do I like what he does on the field, I like what he represents off the field. I have had the honor of meeting his family and attending a couple of the Tua luau's, and what you see on the field where he's truly is humble. Every once in a while he'll talk a little trash, or that one that was talk to me, right? You rarely see that with him. But he's just a very humble player, and he wants to just continue to play, and he wants to continue to do well. And I love, it's hard not to love like a Tyreek, like a Jalen Waddle. I mean, Raheem Mostert. If you ever stand next to Raheem Mostert and just have a quick conversation with him, first of all, his smile brightens up the room, and his positivity just kind of like radiates to other people that are standing next to him. So like, he's another good one. And I mean, those are the main guys, to be honest with you. But I would go with Tua right now. But with that being said too, that doesn't mean I cannot criticize Tua. That doesn't mean I can, I'm not going to say when he's had a bad game or when he needs to have some sort of improvement. And I think that's where some people might question, like, oh, well, if you're Tua stan and there's nothing wrong with him, right? Or if you're Tua hater, then you can't like when he actually comes back and wins the game or something like that. So that's always the complexity with that answer. But I'd say Tua right now. I think he's a great kid. I think he's got some amazing talent, and I think we haven't seen the best of him yet, to be honest with you. Even though last year was pretty darn good, I still think there's opportunity for improvement, especially some of against the winning teams.
Yeah, Biggie, I share your sentiments with Tua. My biggest gripe with him is I just wish he would just try not to make everything out of every play, and just know that you can live for another down and throw the ball away and come back, and you can still make a play. Because sometimes in the second quarter he's playing like there's no time left on the clock, and he's pressing at times. You know what I mean? I just want him comfortable, cool, calm, and collect. And then I think that'll come with time and growth in this offense. And we know he's going to be taking another step this year. So
I want to see a Tua, the Tua that we saw versus the Chargers every single week, because he knew when to get rid of the ball. His precision was on target. Like, I don't think I've ever seen him so precise with the football. And also he made some plays with his legs. He was careful, right? And he slid when he needed to. And then, we got the help from the run game when we needed to, and the defense wasn't really doing much. If you remember that game, we were going toe to toe, but Tua was able to make that last touchdown. Or at least he was able to get us that beautiful play when he threw it to Tyreek, and I think Tyreek lost his helmet, and then that end zone corner, like, I don't know what you want to call it. It was a dart, really,
like a fade route.
Yeah. A fade, yeah. It's but that's the Tua I want to see every week. I think the biggest thing I want to see is consistency from him. That's the biggest thing. I don't know if you guys remember, but at the beginning of last year, probably the first couple weeks, he was like headlining possible MVP candidates for the entire National Football League based on his play. And some things happened. We saw some injuries, and I think maybe his mindset changed a little bit. But you can't just ignore the first couple of weeks, just like you can't ignore the bad games either, right? It's the full picture that you have to be able to look at. But again, I still think we've got a lot of great football from Tua.
So, Biggie, let me ask you, a lot to be made of this offseason. There's been a lot of turnover, a lot of new guys coming in. We lost some crucial pieces in Robert Hunt and Christian Wilkins, as we well know. But we were able to bring in some great pieces on defense in the linebacking core. We brought in Calais Campbell recently. What are your thoughts overall on the Dolphins offseason, and what grade would you put on it?
So I'm going to say that I am cautiously optimistic about the changes that were made. And I think if anybody says that losing Christian Wilkins was a good thing, or, losing Robert Hunt was a good thing, I think they'd be mistaken, because those are some players that, teams try and build around these types of guys. But at the same time, the Dolphins couldn't afford them, because you're paying for, this offense that we have right now. And we're going to continue to pay whenever it comes up, so that we have the Tua's contract, right? Whenever he does get paid. So I think I'd give it probably a B, And because here's the other thing. What did we end up doing? We ended up signing some older veterans at some minimal contracts. And when you see guys that are getting paid, the smaller contracts or the veteran minimums, that usually is a sign that they're probably nearing the end of their career, number one. And number two, it's probable that they weren't going to get paid a lot of money through other teams. Now, Miami is a great place to play. When you have that opportunity and you look at this offense and the speed of this offense, you think, yeah, this is something I want to be part of. But I don't think the Dolphins could have afforded much more than what we got. So I don't know if we necessarily upgraded. It's going to be really interesting to see what Anthony Weaver does with this defense. But once the injury bugs also start, once our injured guys start coming back, I think that'll be very positive for the team. And hopefully, based on what Jalen Phillips looks like, man looks like a dang monster. Hopefully that's sooner than later. Don't mind my dogs. They're barking down. They're fighting with each other.
That's all right. Go ahead, French. Oh, there he goes. He's back again. Come on, French.
There he is.
All that money, and all that. We over here struggling. It's crazy, French. That's what's that.
Stop paying for those $50 burgers, man. Get yourself a good connection.
Make Mobile's finest.
He said, "Bring me up too." I saw it. I saw where he said, "Bring me up."
I was watching it the whole time. So let me. We'll get back to French here. I know he's having some technical difficulties. Yeah, we'll pivot to that. So listen, my question to you is, what's your opinion of Coach Mike's job so far? I know it's year 3 that he's been here. What do you think, as far as in your opinion, is? You think he's stagnated? You think he's declining? I know there's only a 2-year, sampling size of what he's done, but do you think there's still more to be desired? Do you think there's more there left on the plate, or do you think he's, is he the guy? Is he not the guy? Like, what's your opinion overall of McDaniel?
So I'm going to share with you a conversation I had with Coach McDaniel during the Tua luau. Coach actually spoke with a couple of Miami Dolphins fans for about 20 minutes. Like, it was unbelievable because you never get that opportunity to speak to a coach. And I told him, I said, I was complimenting him on the changes, the improvements that we saw from him as a head coach. That first year, he had some challenges with time management. And it was very obvious that was an issue that he recognized. And he said it after the first season. And he improved that in the second year. So I asked him that question. I said, what do you think? How do you think you've done from year 1 to year 2? And he said to me straight out, he said, last season was my second worst season as a head coach of an NFL football team.
Wow.
And my first season was my worst year as a head coach in the NFL. He said, and my goal is to get better every single year. And that's what I'm looking to do next year. And I'll tell you one thing that I like a lot about him, and you're seeing this a lot more as you see, new coaches coming into the NFL, new head coaches especially. They have a certain style with them. I think the hard-nosed Bill Belichick, beat you up until you do well, that style, I think, is kind of going away. And actually, that was kind of Don Shula's style too back in the day, right?
Yes,
and it worked.
Yes,
it worked back in the day. But now I think it's all about focusing on the positives of the guys that you have and trying to build on those positives. And you're still also identifying some areas of opportunity, but you're not beating people up. It's interesting because in my career, I've been working now for 30 some odd years in banking. I had somebody who kind of beat me up and beat everybody up. And you'd go home at the end of the day and you'd feel like garbage, but you'd come back to work the next day because you needed the paycheck, and you would do the job and you would try to do the job as good as you could, versus, my boss, who is encouraging, who's always, rooting me on to do my best, who's also helping me and coaching me and giving me ideas. I think that's the difference. And to be honest with you, I think he's done a great job so far. I think last year we had an opportunity to go far in the playoffs. If it wasn't for all the dang injuries, it just felt like every week we were seeing another major injury on that defense. We had 2 guys playing in the playoff game against Kansas City who had been sitting on their couches for pretty much most of the season, Literally. That's when it's bad. When you have guys starting that weren't even playing football the prior month, that's when it's bad.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think of Coach McDaniel?
I mean, he's listen. Outside of Tony Sperano, post Jimmy Johnson, he's probably my favorite coach, man. Like Sperano was a man, and yeah, he's a player's coach, man. I have nothing wrong to say about Mike. I mean, you could, of course, this is the growing pains. You learn things and stuff like that, but overall, like for the year we live in, is 2024. The type of people we have nowadays, he checks every box. He has to learn. He's not perfect, but neither am I. So we work on each other every day.
Now, let's be honest too. He is tied to Tua. He is now tied to Tua for the rest of his career, right?
He
and
sure
if
is.
Tua succeeds,
He will.
Mike McDaniel's going to succeed. I think if Tua comes in and has a down year, which I'm not predicting, but I'm just saying what ifs, right? I think Mike McDaniel's going to get the heat for that, and so is Chris Grier, right?
Yep.
The same thing, even if Tua plays well and we don't make it deep into the playoffs, I think a lot of people are going to start pointing at Mike McDaniel saying, all right, this has been good. The encouragement's been good, but it hasn't made a difference. And we need a coach that's going to make the difference. Now, do I see, if we make it to the playoffs and we get, we lose in the first round, do I see Coach McDaniel being cut at the end of the year? No, because I don't think you just let him walk after, 3 years, especially when you've got a winning record and you've got a playoff record. I think you might need to get him some help. May need it. I mean, I hate to pick on the special teams coach, but may need to get a different special teams coach. I think that was the biggest surprise of the offseason.
Right now. Yeah.
That's part
sure.
of French. Don't let French hear you talking bad about the special team. That's part of one of his gangs. But I have a question, man. You mentioned you've been a long time Dolphin, and you also mentioned meeting Mike. I know you might have a long history back, but what's one of your, like, not maybe your all-time favorite, if it's your all-time favorite Dolphin memory, which one is it?
So I got a couple, clearly the Miami Miracle against, when it comes to the New England Patriots game, that was great. But I'll tell you the other one, and it's coming up, I think it's coming up on its 6-year anniversary or 5-year anniversary. Remember that game? It was the home opener. It was a season opener. It was the Miami Dolphins versus the Tennessee Titans. And all of a sudden the first thunderstorm comes in and there's a delay, and they're like, there's a message on the scoreboard, get yourselves in good, safe spot. And we're under the canopy, so we're fine. We're not going anywhere. And then they start playing, or they start to get ready for playing. And then there's another delay. Anyway, I think 4 or 5 delays later, the game that started at 1:00 ended at 8:30 that night. And being part of that was pretty fantastic, because part of it was also, I do, well, now that my girls are older, it's a little bit more challenging, but when they were younger, I always rotated my daughters. They would go with me to the football games. And that one, I brought my youngest daughter with me, and I'll never forget sitting in the stands. And I was like, listen, we don't have anything going on tonight. Do you mind staying? Asking, I think she was like 13 at the time. I'm like, asking a 13-year-old to stay and sit in the stands and just hang out that's a big ask. And I remember she told me, she said, Dad, I'll do it if you, and her older sister already did this. So she said, if you let me download Instagram, I will stay with you however long you need me to stay. So don't you know, I'm sitting there with my phone. I'm like, done.
Wow.
So she had Instagram, and her sister had it too. So I know the two of them were well connected.
You got
and we stayed, which was fun. Dolphins ended up winning that game. We ended up getting into one of the suites, and it was interesting because she was a classmate of one of the old Nat Moore's. She was Nat Moore's granddaughter, was a classmate of my youngest daughter when they were in elementary school. And she happened to be in the suite. She's like, come hang with us in the suite. So we went and we hung out in the suite for the last quarter of the game. And by that time, there were probably only 6,000 people left, maybe 8,000 people left in the stadium, because everybody had already gone home by that point. But we were one of them. So I was proud. Of course, the Denver game was fun too, but still some good memories.
Certainly a lot of unexpected events, especially having your daughter have an opportunity to get Instagram So a lot of unexpected moments
Listen,
there. But
I would have done pretty much anything at that point. I'm like, I've been waiting 9 damn months for this game, for this
Right.
home opener.
Yeah,
I'm seeing it out to the end.
to the end. Yes.
Yes. Like, and you go to preseason games, and then I go to all preseason games, try and get to training camp. So I had been to like 5 or 6 Dolphins events. I wasn't going to leave that game early, unless something was serious and it was really hard on my daughter, I would have left. But
Right.
You already too deep in it. You already in it, man.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So-
you're always a dad first before you're a fan, of course.
No question. No
Listen,
question.
they got you. They're good delegating. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, man. That good opportunity right there. So being that, what is your expectation for this training camp as we head to start up the rookie started today, and then now the vets are coming a little bit later? What is your expectation heading to training camp?
I expect to see some battles, honestly. I expect to see some battles for the offensive line. I would love nothing more that I would love than to see Patrick Paul just jump into it and show something of himself in training camp. And, our offensive line coach, Butch Berry, he did an amazing job last season. And
Yes,
what do we have? 12 or 13 variations of offensive linemen throughout the season. So I think if he can do that, I think he can take this 6'7" offensive lineman who's strong as hell, and he can make something of him. On top of that, I want to see the edge rushers. I want to see Chop Robinson. You're a first round draft pick, Chop, and he's probably going to have to start because of the injuries. He's probably going to have to start. So I want to see him be fast during training camp. But more importantly, out of anything, I just want to see everybody be healthy, man.
Yeah.
Too many times we go to training camp and then somebody gets hurt and they're out a couple of weeks or something. It's I just want everybody to come out of this training camp healthy, and day one we get all of our players that are going to be impact players to play. So that's it. Those are the most. I already know Tua can throw. I already know what this offense can do. I think the biggest question mark right now is going to be, what is this defense going to be able to do? What is Anthony Weaver going to be able to do with this offense? And then the other question is about the offensive line. And I think we can work on that. Or I think, again, Butch Berry can put some stuff together to make it work.
Yeah, there's a ton of questions that are going to need to be answered this season. I think we also could even throw in that bucket. How's Chubb and Phillips going to come back from those injuries? Will they be themselves? Is it going to take them some time to kind of get going and get acclimated? I know we kind of doubled down in the draft at the position and picked up some veterans that can help us out there. But, I mean, with those guys at the helm, that defense that you were just alluding to with Anthony Weaver, I think his job gets a little easier with a healthy Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb at their best. So I'm right with you on those questions.
And I think one of the other biggest questions is who is going to be taking over the spot that Christian Wilkins, vacated. I know right now, if you look at a depth chart through our lads, which is always the place I go for depth charts, they have Tier Tart, who is he's a veteran. He's been around a while. And they got Benito Jones behind him, Brandon Peely behind him. But I think what the Dolphins did is they basically brought in like 50 guys and said, you guys compete during training camp, and whoever plays the best is going to win the position. And I think that's what they did.
Playing time, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, so Big E, let me ask you, tough question here. Is this the season the Dolphins end the playoff drought?
I think so. So here's my problem. I am an eternal optimist when it comes to the Dolphins. So if you were to ask my wife the question of how often does your husband predict that the Dolphins are going to make it to the playoffs and win in the playoffs, she probably has videos of me over the last 15 years of me saying, we're definitely going to win the playoffs. We're definitely going to win in the playoffs. We're definitely going to make it to the playoffs. But I really think that this offense is constructed. Like last year, our offense was ranked number 2 in the National Football League. Not a whole heck of a lot has changed on offense. If anything, we've gotten a little better. We got OBJ now. We've got Jonnu Smith now. We picked up Jalen Wright, who's going to be another young stud, I think, at running back. And then Waddle. and then you still got Tua. So I think our offense is going to be good. I think the defense is going to be questionable, but the old saying is, if the defense ain't doing well, they ain't doing good enough, as long as the offense can score more than the other team, that's all that matters. And I think we have the offense that can score more than the other team. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Agreed. 100%.
All right.
Was that Frenchie? Did he pop in and pop out again?
It's
like all of a sudden he's like,
yes,
sir.
You know what, Biggie? I had to climb through the air ducts to get here today. I had to climb through the air ducts to get here.
Not the air duct.
There he is.
Right now with your
there he
studio.
is.
So you had the Copa America energy, French. Give it to them. What's going on here?
Listen, I had to climb through the air ducts to get here, but just like Copa America, I am here, ladies and gentlemen. And the good news is, Big E is here as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ask the question. You got here.
Ask your question, man. Come on.
Ask the question.
This is
listen. I see you all through the softballs at Big E.
Oh, give me the hard balls. I'm good with the hard balls.
Listen,
wow.
listen. Call me Barbara Walters, because I got the hard hitting questions. Big E, I have a question for you, sir. You've been around, you've tailgated, you've been to some of these cities. What is your best city you've tailgated in? And give me one that's on your Mount Rushmore list.
So I will tell you that, being an out of towner, I'd say that the New York Jets tailgate is amazing. And I think part of it also is the fact that there's 2,000 Miami Dolphins fans who love to tailgate, before the game, and we're all together. So it's the MetLife takeover. Unbelievable. I was thoroughly impressed with the Chargers tailgate for the Chargers fans. They had they had something called Thunder Alley, where everyone had the exact style tent. And it's basically like a 300 to 500 foot walk, where it's just people giving out drinks, people giving out food. An El Mariachi band was in the middle of it. And they were just so welcoming to, like, even people who were all dressed in Dolphins stuff. So I was really impressed. This year I am going to have the opportunity. Pray for me. I'm going to Buffalo and gonna experience that for the first time in my life. And then, this is a proud moment as the dad. My oldest daughter, she is a Dolphins fan. She goes to school and college up in Boston, and she texts me with her Dolphins shirts on especially the Dolphins are playing the Patriots. I'm taking her to New England for the Foxborough game. We're going to meet up there, and then we're going to go to the game together. So that's going to be a proud papa moment, because we get to experience that together. But man, there is no place like Miami when it comes to tailgating that I've seen so far. Some people may call me biased, but I mean, we get there at 9 o'clock in the morning. Game doesn't start till 1. And you have people after the game, they'll tailgate for 2 to 4 hours after the game. Now, if my wife were with me, she'd probably say we gotta go. If my wife weren't with me, she'd probably call me and say, "Get your ass home. You've already spent 12 hours there." Because I will get there. I'll get there at 9:30, 10 o'clock, probably more like 9:30, and then I'll leave like 4:35. So what is that? 8 hours, whatever it is.
A whole work shift. Wow,
it is an entire. And when I have friends too, like I'm like, "Hey, my wife can't go. Do you want to go with me?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I say, I just need to warn you about the tailgating. We're going to get there 9:30 in the morning, and you ain't going to get home until 5:30 in the afternoon. And they're like, all right, because it's an experience. It's not just the game. It's everything that goes around with the game.
And Big E, especially if we win, it goes even beyond 5, goes to 7 to 8. Oh my God, I can't wait for the season.
I love seeing Dolphins fans after a win. Everybody is so stinking jubilant. It's so nice because in Miami, traditionally people don't let you in for like when you're trying to drive around and trying to cut into traffic. But when there's a win, like everybody's stopping. Like, hey, yeah, you got a Dolphins flag on, you got Dolphins magnets on your car. Come on, man, you're good. You're good. If it's a loss, forget it. Good luck.
The whole world is unified when the Dolphins win the game.
That is a true statement, man. It is a true statement. I love it.
You're absolutely right. It's specifically the driving part. They let you, hey, come on, man. You got it.
And then when we lose or things go wrong, everybody wants to kill each other, which is the most bipolar fan base that I've ever seen in my life. It's the craziest thing.
I get it though. I mean, man, we're think about this, and I was just thinking about this afternoon. The Dolphins have not won a Super Bowl. Obviously, we know, since the 70s. The Heat, the Panthers, the Marlins, they've all won championships, and the Dolphins still have not. And I've experienced all of those on TV, but I refuse to go to them in person because I've told my wife, this is a story and I'm sticking to it. I've told my wife that if the Dolphins ever make it to the Super Bowl, all that money that I would have spent on a Heat finals game, on a Panthers finals game, on a Marlins finals game, I've saved that up. I've saved that money up, and I'm going to the Super Bowl. She's like, well, I ain't going. I was like, I didn't invite you. I'm good. I'm good.
This is a solo trip. Not even the daughters are included in this. This is me. This is a solo trip.
It's a me thing. Sorry.
Whatever you want to get, I don't even worry about it. I'm going by myself.
That was great.
Absolutely. And I usually go to like the away games by myself anyway. So I get because of Twitter, because of social media, I've gotten a chance to meet so many people that I would never have met otherwise. And when I go to these out of town areas, there's people there that I know. I mean, as soon as I met Frenchie at the bar and he's like, hey, it's Frenchie. I'm like, oh man, that's all. I'm seeing somebody who I've been talking to for years on social media at a bar in LA, we're wearing our Dolphins colors. That's the greatest thing. I love that stuff.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's a typical place to meet French.
At a bar in LA.
$50 burgers.
Yeah, $50 burgers, $70 water bottles. It's insane.
Oh,
Hey,
man.
take it easy.
Go ahead, Coach. Go ahead.
So listen, I know you talked about Tua earlier. You've met him at the luau's, and we all of us here are staunch supporters of Tua on and off the field. I think he's a model player, model young man that you should have leading a franchise. With my experience as a coach for many, many years, I've never understood the not so much the criticism, because it's okay to criticize players when they do wrong. That's where you get the growth. But when you have the personal shots and then just the straight hate that we've seen on social media, it's what would I say is discouraging. It's just, I guess you can say it's discouraging. But on that note, and throughout my ramble, what are your thoughts on? All right, thanks, Wally. What are your thoughts on Tua's contract negotiations, where they stand?
So this is a tough one, right? Because I think a lot of people thought it would get done by now. And I thought it was going to get done by now. At the end of the day, I do not feel that the Dolphins want to go into this season without Tua having a contract. There are some people out there that say, hey, let him play. Two things could happen. One, Tua could get hurt, which we don't want to see that happen. Last year was a great indication that he can stay healthy for an entire season. Yes. Or number two, he could outplay his contract, and then you either have to franchise him the season after, or his annual contract is going to be that much more expensive. And here's the thing. I do believe that he should get a contract in that $50 million range. People sometimes think I'm crazy for saying that. And that would probably make him one of the top 5, top 7 players in National Football League today. However, look at what quarterbacks make in 2 years from now or in 3 years from now. What Tua is making today, whatever he signs for, is probably going to be the 15th, 20th, 25th ranked payout for a quarterback in 2 to 3 years, because this position, the quarterback position, just keeps getting paid more and more and more money. And I'll bring it back to Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill got re-signed, right? He got re-signed, and he got re-signed to a contract that was, I think, top 5, top 7 at the time in the National Football League. And a lot of people were like, well, throwing their hands up in the air, this is crazy, whatever. But by the next year, I don't even think he was in the top 10 for being paid as a quarterback. And that's just the way the process works. Now, from Tua's perspective, let's be honest about this organization. When Brian Flores came in, and I guess it came out this week that Brian Flores didn't want to select Tua. He wanted to take an offensive lineman and then take Jordan Love later on in that draft. Yep. it felt like Brian Flores' plan was to beat him up or try and kick him out, try and bring in Deshaun Watson, right? That was another possibility that it felt like Brian Flores was trying to do. And he was just trying to, I don't know, beat him down every possible way that he could, it felt like. And Tua remembers that. It's part of his experience as a Miami Dolphin. So if Chris Greer is thinking, well, maybe we can get a discount for one reason or another, maybe, Chris Greer is coming back and saying, well, you missed a couple of games 2 seasons ago, that first season too, you didn't play all. Doesn't matter. What did Tua do last year from a numbers perspective? He was top in the National Football League, but Chris Greer can come back and say, yeah, but we didn't win against all those teams that had a winning record, so I think there's that push and shove that's going on between the two of them.
Right.
I still believe, and I know it's kind of going up against the wire, I still believe they're going to get something done before Veterans Report. I really do think that. I do not think they want this over their heads during training camp, because if it's still out there for training camp, every time Mike McDaniel is at the podium, that question's going to come up. Every time Tua comes to the podium, that question's going to come up. Every time that anytime that Devon Achane comes up to the podium, that question's going to come up. It's just going to be over the head of this team until something is done. So I do think something's going to get done, and I think it should get done.
Yeah, I agree. The whole thing with the media is one thing. I know it's going to be constant. It's every question. Go ahead, Wally. I didn't mean to.
No, that's cool, man. I was going to piggyback off of that and say the same thing. I don't think they want it anymore. We've had a pretty quiet off season outside of the civil lawsuits or whatnot or whatever, but it's been for the most part quiet. So I don't think they want that. Like, it's just like Big E said, hey, so I saw you complete a pass. That was a great pass. Why haven't you got in a contract? So I saw you guys with Patrick's Day. Why haven't you got in a contract? So it's raining outside. Why hasn't Tua got it? It's annoying, bro. Like, none of us want to go through that. As fans, we're over it. Since we're gonna dampen the mood, I'm gonna have a terrible question, but I feel like we should take it as Dolphin fans. We should talk about our pain, and it helps us out. Like, we live these terrible memories. So, Big E, your worst memory as a Dolphin fan is?
Oh man, the worst Dolphin memory. So I'm going to go recently, and I know there's plenty of them. Couple seasons ago, it was the Dolphins versus the Bills. It always is the damn Dolphins versus the Bills, unfortunately. And it was the last game of the season. And all the Dolphins needed to do, and I think Ryan Fitzpatrick had just come down with COVID, and Tua was starting that game. And all the Dolphins needed to do was beat Buffalo. And if I remember correctly, Buffalo, I think, started their starters for maybe a quarter, and then they had all their backups in. And that was a game where I think Devontae Parker dropped like 7 passes. And also Mike Gesicki dropped like 3 or 4 passes. And then all these other random, and I don't mean them to be random, but, different wide receivers who I don't think are in the National Football League right now I think there were a total of 11 or 12 drop passes, and the Dolphins lost that game. And that just felt so horrible to me, because I felt that had we made it into the playoffs, we could have done something. And after that game, it was dark out, and I went into my room, shut off all the lights, shut off my phone, and I just kind of curled up. And I was just depressed. I was disappointed. It's like, that's how this season is going to end, with that type of a performance, with Tua, who's supposed to be our, a future of our franchise, so that offseason, there were a lot more questions. I think that's when there was the push for Deshaun Watson in the offseason, because that final game, there were so many more questions than answers. But I think that was my biggest, most recent disappointment. Prior to that, it was the tank for Tua season. Those first 2 home games that I went to, it was against Baltimore, it was against New England Patriots. I think they combined to outscore us by like 80 to 20. Those games or something like that.
It was bad.
I was
bad. And so I have a vivid memory of those games, partly because during the Patriots game in the fourth quarter, I'm surrounded by Patriots fans, and they're like, listen, dude, we can't believe you're still here watching this, and we're rooting for the Dolphins to do something right. And I was like, man, I just want them to do something right too. And it just,
when Antonio Brown scored, it broke my heart.
Well, and it's like, that's how we start the season, like start with fighting, start with something. But I know everybody was talking, we were tanking for Tua that season, and which I was never on board. You never tank for a player because there's 50 some odd guys on a roster. Right. So, but it all ended up working out because Tua ended up coming to us anyway.
Biggie, appreciate you giving us your time. We know that you're a very busy man.
I'm good. No, it's all good. I appreciate it. I'm enjoying this, guys.
You got time for a few more?
Yeah, of course.
All right. So French. Did you want to go French or? Oh, okay, I'll go. Let me ask you, Biggie, if you could send a message to the Dolphins fan base this offseason or going into this season, what would your message be to the fan base if you could send a message from your heart to the Dolphins fan base this season?
I would say have some patience, because we have endured a lot. We have endured a lot as Miami Dolphins fans. And, I think the roster that we see now, similar to the roster that we saw last year and the year before, these are some of the best rosters that we have seen in this era of Miami Dolphins football. Correct. And eventually, I think sooner than later, we're going to see that repay us as fans. My daughter, about my oldest, when she was probably 10, she came to me, she said, she started understanding football. Obviously, she was going to the game. She said, Dad, you're watching the Miami Dolphins. They always lose. Why do you continue to watch them? And I said, well, honey, you got to experience the losses to appreciate the wins. And I said, as a Dolphins fan, as a long-term diehard Dolphins fans, when we win in the playoffs, when we make it to the Super Bowl, when we win the Super Bowl, we as fans that have stuck through it all are going to appreciate it 1,000 times more than people who haven't been paying attention the last 15, 20, 30 years. So have patience. I think we have the right coaching staff in place. I think we have a pretty awesome roster right now. We just got to put it all together and hopefully have a little luck on our side when it comes to injuries. I think that is a luck thing because, you can prepare yourself as much as you can. You get stepped on the wrong way. You step the wrong way on a field and something can happen. So we just need a little bit of that luck.
Yeah, man, that's definitely kind of some of the same sentiments I want to echo. Biggie, let me ask you this: what along with the Tua contract, I know one of the things we were talking about is kind of how that first year going. One of the things I say with the Tua negotiation, just kind of echoing a bit of a Chris Greer sentiment, is we also chose Tua over, the organization chose him over the coach. So in that, we definitely made it right by choosing him. But let me ask you this. What do you think about also the linebacking unit and what they can contribute this season?
It's interesting because, the linebacking unit, there's pretty much a question mark, right? Because you've got to see what Anthony Weaver is going to do from a linebacking perspective. Is he going to go the 3-4? Because if he's going to go the 3-4, then those outside linebackers are going to be your rushers. And those, you just want them to be quick and get around the edge as much as possible. David Long Jr., there was a story that recently came out about him and his upbringing, and he just sounds like a guy that that's always driving for success. And I like him. I actually liked what I saw from him last year. And then you've got Jordan Brooks, Duke Riley, and Anthony Walker. So there's a lot of questions there. And then this name, and I hate to bring it up, but he was our top draft pick of the year, Channing Tindall. It sure would be nice to see Channing Tindall actually be able to take the field for some starting plays on defense. And if it's not this year, I don't think he'll ever have the opportunity, to be honest with you, because now he's going in on his third year. I think when you say what are some weak areas on the football field, I think linebackers is probably one of them, especially the interior. And then the exterior linebackers would probably be a close second until Phillips and Chubb can come back healthy. hopefully they will be able to come back healthy and get to some level of what they were before they got injured. But that's going to be a big question mark, really, the linebacker spot. What do you think, Frenchie? Oh, he's got to take care of the little one.
Specifically
I hear
with
my
the
dogs.
linebacker, I mean, I'm the captain of the linebacking unit. So I always say with the linebacking unit specifically, this is going to be the resurgence. And listen, Big E, I don't know if you heard the memo. I'm the captain of a few units. The linebacker unit,
special teams. I did hear special teams. Yeah, I did hear special teams.
So I feel like those are going to be the key contributing factors.
How many teams are you the captain of, man? Come on,
listen. When you're the team captain, it isn't you ordaining yourself. This is what the people are ordaining you to be. The people said French. I heard you talking about the trenches.
What people?
Whoa.
I would like to know what people as well, because I'm confused.
Hold on.
The people on Twitter, of course.
Wally Hill and Mechanic Waddle. I need you all to relax for a moment.
Yeah, we don't know these people. We do not know any of these people.
It's because you don't have your ears close enough to the
That's
street.
It's the Manti Te'o of girlfriend effect.
Here y'all go. But
so you telling me it's first time Te'o?
But no. But hold on. Seriously, the linebacking unit is going to be the core to that defense.
So what have you seen from them, Frenchie, that thinks that they'll be able to take a step up and they'll be able to replace Jerome Baker, right? Who was really he was a mouthpiece of that defensive unit, right? So what have you seen that says we'll be okay without Jerome?
Well, specifically, and I've been waiting for you to ask that question. It's called the changing of the guard. And
changing of the guard. Okay.
These NFL gloves were worn by the great.
Can you put down that Michael Jackson gloves down?
These look like golfing gloves. Are you sure those are NFL gloves?
Gloves worn by our linebacker in the middle. And what I will say, this is a changing of the guard with the guys we got right now. And with the changing of the guard, having that hard-nosed linebacker to meet these guys in the middle, when you talking about the addition of Brooks from Seattle and what we got, listen, we haven't had linebackers like this since Kiko.
Somebody used to knock people into another dimension.
Nose in the middle and be able to.
That bar. He stole that bar.
Oh, now
you stole that bar.
Listen, I can't have nothing to myself.
You stole that bar. He stole that from Chad.
Hey, listen, I love a hard-hitting linebacker, right? Because that brings back Zach Thomas, and we were talking about how much people love Zach Thomas. And,
I'm with it.
But with that hard hitting, you do need that speed too to go side to side, and hopefully these guys can keep up. You know, again, these guys in the preseason last year, David Long he blasted through holes. He was so impressive. But when it came to the regular season, I did not see that consistently. Every once in a while, you'd see it. But you didn't see it consistently. Now, maybe it is a changing of the guard, Frenchie. I'll give you some credit there. And maybe you give somebody the opportunity to step up and maybe they actually take that opportunity and run with it. I hope so.
If I may interject with a little bit of more knowledge than French about the linebacking core. He was playing with Jerome Baker, man. That's the problem.
Whoa.
He was playing with Jerome Baker. That's the problem. You don't have Jerome Baker, no problem. Jordan Brooks and Jerome Baker, night and day. Sorry about that, Coach. I just had a little no. I apologize, Coach.
No, I was just gonna say I think we upgraded with Jordan Brooks. I really do. I think.
And if I can't expand, I think we're gonna have the best defense in the NFL. You could
that would be great.
You're gonna have. You don't hate.
Don't forget about Anthony Walker. Don't forget about Anthony Walker in that linebacking core. He's a starting caliber linebacker. I think with him and Duke Riley now on behind those guys, I think it allows Duke to focus more on the special teams, and he's going to be the first guy now off the bench to step in the event that we need a extra linebacker in run stopping situations or somebody gets a little banged up. And he has a ton of starting experience. So
true,
yeah,
very true.
That's a great point, Chad. So, Biggie, let me kind of pivot away from football a bit. I know I've noticed, and I think we all noticed, that you're very, very enthralled in the Dolphins Cancer Challenge. I know that cancer has affected you personally in your life, as I want to say most of us here, in one way or another. I lost my grandmother to to cancer, and I know some of us have lost loved ones as well, or have experienced being affected by cancer. How did you? Was it just your personal experience that got you involved in this challenge itself, or how did that come about?
So it's interesting because it was a couple of steps of things that happened. My mom was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer a couple of years ago, and it was devastating for all of us. But I remember not too long after, probably a year after the diagnosis, I'm riding to work and I'm listening on the radio, and Joe Rose is talking on the radio with one of the representatives from the DCC, and they started talking about how you can cycle, which used to be the Dolphins Cycle Challenge, which you needed a bike, and I'm not a biker, or you can walk a 5K. And I said, I can walk a 5K. I could do that. So I remember going into the office that day, and I signed up, and I put a goal of $250. And I said, I'm just going to go put my story out there, see if we can raise some funds for Dolphins Challenge Cancer. And I'll never forget just sitting there, and like within 5 minutes, there was $250 in donations. And then it was like by the end of the first day, it was like $2,000 in donations. Wow. And it was just numbers of people, $5, $10, $15. And as you said, it's become such a worldwide issue that it's hard to find people that don't know someone or don't have a family member that has been affected by cancer. Correct. And so I have kind of grown my interest in Dolphins Cancer Challenge. It used to be called Dolphins Challenge Cancer. Now they changed it. But I try and get involved. And last year actually was the first year that I created a team. My co-captain is Ashley Sachs. She is a 305 Sports Babe, which you might follow her on Twitter as well.
Oh yeah, sure.
And our team consisted of over, I think it was 23 different Dolphins fans from throughout the world. And we had about 15 people that showed up at the walk with us, and we walked together. And then the people that were not able to come in because they were either out of state or they were out of the country, they walked wherever they were. So we had, it's funny because I have this picture because I love this. And this is the group that we put together. And you can see this is our friend from England, and he was walking. That's the t-shirt that we created. And then this is our friend from New Jersey, and he was walking up in New Jersey, and then he was also remote. And it's become an important event for us, especially for me, but also it's become kind of a family event where we're bringing together Dolphins fans that want to get involved and want to be part of this. So, and they just got recognized too. Dolphins Cancer Challenge got recognized during the ESPYs last week, because they're going to be partnering. I think the V Foundation is committing $30 million over 10 years. So it is, wow. I mean, finding a cure for cancer, that's what it boils down to. We've got to find the cure. Hopefully it happens within my lifetime. But that's what we're doing. We're trying to help. And unfortunately, I did lose my mom about a year and a half ago. But I know she's watching, and she knew what I was doing before she passed, and she was always touched, and she was always paying attention to the messages that people were sending, and she was extremely appreciative.
Yeah, no, Big E, let the people know how they can get involved. How can they support you in Dolphins Cancer Challenge? What can they do to get involved and do their part?
So July 1st is when the next campaign actually starts up, and we will, I'm going to ask everybody, hey, do you guys want to get involved? Again, if you want to come down to Miami, they put an unbelievable event together. We had Shaka Khan there last year in concert. So that was something to look forward to at the end after you're sweaty and, running or walking or biking. But also Dolphins players, Dolphins alumni get there too. It's just really impressive to see what they do to make this event work. But July 1st, we're going to get our team back together, same group. And then if anybody wants to join, what I did, which I thought was also important, is we created a team shirt, and someone from Twitter helped to create a team logo. On the back of the shirt, we listed out everyone who was important to us. that was affected by cancer. So my mom's name was on my back. Everybody had a different family member or a friend that was affected. Some people had 2 or 3 people that were affected by cancer. And I think that just brings it all together, like how important this type of research is. And it's something that I'm very proud of. And it's how I use social media, to be honest with you. I don't think people realize that I make money on social media. We all do, right? If you got that little blue check mark, you get a couple dollars. If you hit a certain amount of interactions each month, right? I know Frenchie's like a billionaire by now, but we'll talk later about that.
Biggie, real quick. Me and Wally went to his home, and the first thing when walking into the door, right, credit score and a barista, a personalized barista, asked us,
like this?
do we want a cafecito or Americano?
Yeah. So I'm not lying. All right, you made some good money.
French
I'm
on
just
another
saying.
level. You guys don't understand this guy. This guy is.
You see the way they talk about me?
I don't even know how they let me in with my food stamp card. It was insane to get in there.
Hey, yo.
That's awesome. That's awesome. No, so I was just going to say, so I use that money. So I do 2 things. I have 11 subscriptions. I also get interaction money from Twitter, and I take all that money and I purchase. There's a place where you can bid on Dolphins paraphernalia, and like I try and always bid low, and then I use that to then auction out not auction, but I'll raffle it later, and 100% of the money that's raised through the raffles goes towards the Dolphin Challenge Cancer. So what I'm trying to say is the money I make off Twitter, I don't keep that. It goes because it grows to help fight, And then the other thing I do, I'm doing putting together fantasy football right now, and half of the buy-in the buy-in's 40, so 20 from everybody's buy-in goes towards Dolphins Challenge Cancer. Got a couple of leagues, it adds up after a little while, which is nice. And then different things throughout the year. It's just try to get as creative as I can, and I'm trying to use my platform for good. Even though I know sometimes I'll troll the other football teams.
You gotta live a little. Nothing wrong with that. You gotta live a little, man.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, listen, Biggie, on behalf of all of us here, we'll let you go tonight. We appreciate you coming on here and talking to all of us and all the 686 fans who are actually watching right now. Everybody that's out there, please, please, please reach out to Biggie. Keep an eye on his Twitter account and donate to the Cancer Challenge. It's a huge, huge help for all the people that are suffering and going through this nasty, crazy, mind-boggling and just destructive disease that's been going on for a long time. Hopefully we can somehow find a cure and not have people go through this pain and families go through this pain. So again, Biggie, appreciate your time, man.
I appreciate you guys. I love what you do. I know we started as Spaces and we transitioned to this now, the live platform, which I love because I love being able to see everybody and actually connect a face to a name and a voice, right? So keep doing what you're doing because I appreciate it. And I really appreciate you guys having me on tonight. This is a lot of fun. Thank you guys.
Biggie, appreciate you, man.
Thank you, Biggie. Appreciate
you. Throughout the season, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. You know it. I'll be here. All right, man. Fins up, guys.
Thanks again.
Fins up.
Biggie.
Fins up.
Fins up.
Wow, that was great.
That was
great
cool.
show, man. Hey, man, appreciate everybody for being here and watching and giving your support, man. It means really a lot to us. We're trying to do our best to grow and do better and put out better content for you guys. I know there's a bunch of Dolphins content creators that are out now, and shout out to everybody for taking their destiny in their hands and being, the controller of the information within the fan base. I know for so long we always felt like we were kind of misrepresentative. So shout out to all the podcasts out there that are starting up, man. You guys keep pushing, keep doing your things, man. And shout out to Big E. And appreciate you guys again for tuning in to another episode of Inside Leverage.
One last thing before we get out of here, we have one question or actually a statement by one of our viewers, and it's funny because this is I don't know, Chad, if you want to address this.
Yeah, we're actually gonna have Lisa on the pod, so we'll have her on, and she'll be able to, in our fan on fan series that we're doing, we're gonna have Lisa on. So yeah, Lisa definitely be on here, and she should definitely be an ambassador. She does so much great work in the community. She's always pushing to. do as much as she can. So we're definitely going to have her on, as well as some other fans as well. As we wanted to take this time out in the off season to highlight the fan base and the community and the people doing, these great things in the community that are, looking to do great things.
Cause we do it for the peoples, man. We do it for the peoples, man. You know what I'm saying? We do it for the people. We do it for y'all. We do it for y'all.
On that note, you know what time it is.
What we got?
Hey, man. I'm not gonna dance. I'm not dancing.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you throughout the week. Make sure you follow us on Spaces. Sign up and subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram. Every social media platform. We'll be at training camp just about every single day. Bring you the latest information on your favorite team and the number one team in the NFL, the Miami Dolphins. On that note, peace. We out.